Okay, now we're going to model the last two parts of our box, which would be the top and the back. And I'm going to start we're going to model the back. If you look at our drawing files, we're looking for the box back, which is the very first page. This is a 4" by 4.5" square that's extruded to a 1/4 inch. So if I want to model just this edge first that falls along the back end of my bottom piece, I am looking at a 1/4 inch by 4.5" small rectangle that will be extruded upwards 4 inches. So let's do that. Back in my part studio, which by the way, I am going to rename that box, if my keyboard will work. There we go. All right, so we're gonna start a new sketch. On the bottom, in for normal. Maybe. Let's go to the top. And we're gonna do that rectangle. This time it is going to be a corner rectangle. Grab that corner there, and then we're gonna snap it all the way over. Already gave me dimensions of 4.5 for that side, so I'm good with those. But we need to dimension this width here. So this width would be 1/4 inch. There we go. And this length is already dimensioned at 4.5 inches, so we're good to go. That dimension grays out when I don't need it. And also, I don't need these planes anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and hide them so that they're not in the way. Accept that. Shift E to extrude, and we're going to extrude this part upwards 4 inches. So this will be a new part, which is what we have selected. We're going to go ahead and accept that. We're going to rename this part box back. And let's go ahead and edit the appearance. And we're going to assign material. Let's make that MDF and call it good. So we have almost a complete box. Now notice this is modeled, it is not assembled. These pieces can move. They're completely separate from each other, and that's really important lesson that you need to understand, that even though it looks like it's together, it is not. All right, so the top is a little bit more complicated, but not terribly so. We have a 4" by 5" rectangle piece of MDF. That is a 1/4 inch thick, but we do have 4 holes that are separated an inch apart. And so we're gonna do this kind of dimensioning here, which is called datum dimensioning. This allows for the most accurate kind of part production. You'll also notice that these holes are centered on the horizontal axis that goes through the center of this side. All right. So we are going to go ahead and create new sketch this time. We're going to choose that surface there. That automatically generates a plane where we need it to be. In for normal, and I am going to get a corner rectangle. I want to get that rectangle so that I can go from edge to edge, and you can see that it automatically gave me the dimensions that I really want, 5 by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and enter. And why is it yelling at me? Let's look into it. Okay, it yelled at me for a little bit because it didn't like that dimension on there. It was already dimensioned since we snapped it to the corners, which is another benefit of modeling everything together in place, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hit in for normal, zoom in a little bit, but we have a rectangular face. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. I'm going to go ahead and extrude that top corner. Now notice you have to be careful here because it didn't like me, it didn't select everything. Now I am going to do a 1/4" extrusion, turn it to the side so I can see it a little better. And we're going to make sure new is selected. I'm good with that. Now let's rename this to box top. And we're going to change the appearance to make it look the same. And we're going to assign material. This time it will be MDF. And we're good. Okay, next part, we need to add in the holes. So the holes, if you recall, they're 1/2" holes that are 1" away and apart from each other all the way across. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start sketch on the top. I'm going to grab that hole command, and I want to make sure that it is lined up. So when we did our center point rectangle for the entire base, that center point rectangle went ahead and defined the center of our rectangle, which means that anything that kind of coincides with it, you can see that horizontal constraint, that little black line, and the yellow dashed line is saying it's predictive geometry. It is saying that anything that falls on this line is horizontally constrained to the origin and therefore is on the center of our face, that horizontal center axis, which is good. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and we're going to do 0.5, enter. And the cool thing about Onshape is I can actually Control-C, Control-V to copy, Control-V to copy again, Control-V to copy. Oh, let's see, Control-V to copy again. So kind of cool. Now that mouse icon that was popping up is saying, hey, why don't you go ahead and accept it. Now you'll notice that these circles are kind of all over the place. And if I move them anyway, so these I can move wherever I want them to go because they're not constrained. This one, the one that we drew on the axis, on the other hand, I can't move it up or down. I can only move it left or right because it is constrained to the origin. Now, I want the others to do that as well. A couple of ways we can do that. I can drag the center until it gets to that dotted line like that. Once I do that, you can see I can't move this one up or down anymore, just left or right. The other way to go about doing that is adding that horizontal constraint. And I can constrain this to the other circles pretty easily. So now they're all in a line. I just need to locate them. So they are located vertically, ironically, because we've constrained them to a horizontal axis. That's why I cannot move any of these circles up or down. But they are not located horizontally. So that's where I'm going to go in and add the dimensions. I'm going to add the dimensions in just like they look up here. So starting over on the left-hand side to the center point. Oops, I lost my dimension command. So D for dimension, side to center, place to click, 1, enter. Dimension, side to center, practice good dimensioning skills. We want that the shortest dimension to hug the sides, the longer dimensions go out. So we're going to place 2, zoom out a little bit, B for dimension, the center point, 3, and the last one, I think I'm still in my dimension. Yep, still in my dimension. So grab and zoom up. Let's see, place 4, enter. Everything has turned black, which means it is fully constrained and we are good to go. Now what we're going to do is extrude. So Shift E, click those holes, all 4 of them. And we are going to do a up to next and flip the direction. We're going to make sure we remove. So what that's doing is that it's extruding anywhere through to the next part. So you'll notice that it did not extrude to the bottom. I think if I had done through all, well, through all works too. It doesn't go through the bottom. So since those are through holes, let's go ahead and make it through all. It makes sense because this is the hosted part. All right, so we now have our finished box. All of these parts are actually separate. I could move them. They're not assembled, even though I can't move them in here. They are not assembled. These are different parts. They're just modeled together to make sure that we don't have any conflicts or interferences. So this is the end of our video on how to model our automata box.